Hey everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Time to talk about last night's Monday Night Raw. And boy, you wouldn't know the Royal Rumble's around the corner, would you? You know that big PLE, one of the biggest PLEs? Some look at it as the second biggest PLE. Most fans would say that's their favorite PLE of the entire year. Yeah, that one. That one is being ignored by WWE, and there's very little mention of it. Really, it's just kind of crazy. I mean, you have the biggest event of the year coming up with this event that has incredible ramifications into your biggest event of the year, and you're not even talking about it. It is in passing, in passing in WWE. You'll hear it very, very sporadically. All for what? All for the Saturday night main event. I'm not getting this. So we have now 2 weeks from this Saturday, 2 weeks in beloved Riyadh, Saudi Arabia until the Royal Rumble. And we haven't gotten any promotion. It's absurd, but maybe they feel that it doesn't need it. I feel like it does. The Royal Rumble matches themselves, I think they're leaving to a big mystery of who's going to maybe be number one or number two. Sometimes, some years, they will reveal who number one and number two are, but that's fine with me. If they want to leave the entire roster, the entire 30-man and 30-woman Royal Rumble a mystery, that's fine with me. And it's just kind of crazy. This may be the least promoted Royal Rumble of all time. Now, they can still do the next couple weeks, and they should do the next couple weeks of promotion, but this may be 3 weeks out the absolute least amount of promotion they've ever done for the Royal Rumble. But they feel, and perhaps this is the reason, they feel that the Royal Rumble sells itself. And in a lot of ways, it does, but kind of crazy. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about Finn Balor, who has now put himself back into the main event picture, at least probably for a very short time, to try to challenge CM Punk for the world title. That'll be interesting. And we've got other stuff too. Women's tag team title contenders coming up. Gunther versus AJ Styles that took place last night. We're going to get to all of it. But as always, if you haven't joined us before, welcome. If you're a regular listener, thank you. We're also available ad-free at patreon.com/WWE podcast. So let's dive into Monday Night Raw. And the venue was, let me make sure I get this right. I feel like I forgot exactly where overseas that they are. Oh, that's right. Dusseldorf, Germany, at the PSD Bank Dome. Bet you didn't know that. Maybe New Germany, but Dusseldorf, I did not pick that up. Unless it's like Berlin. Outside of Berlin, how many people know any other cities in Germany that WWE visits? Anyway, not many. So, all right. We then had Raw open with the highlights of last week. And Cole said there were over 11,000 in attendance. And he, of course, narrates the backstage arrival of CM Punk, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Javon Evans, and a bunch of others. And then Pyro goes off, and we have Rhea Ripley and Io Sky make their entrance. And after playing to the crowd, they started to talk about facing any team before they were interrupted by entrance music because they're baby faces and they have to declare, or according to Royal Rumble's 2015 promo by Roman Reigns, declare. I was just watching that. If you haven't seen it, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Roman Reigns has had some really bad flubs on the mic. The Suffer and Succotash is obviously one of the most infamous, but it was the 2015 Royal Rumble that he said he declares and then gave an awkward stare into the camera and then said declare, and then it was a mess. Turning that into the Tribal Chief is pretty damn impressive. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the Royal Rumble in Philly that he got completely booed out of the building, even with the help of The Rock, where they were trying to push him as a face and it wasn't working. And then to just by absolute miracle, the wrestling gods shined down upon WWE because after they made that decision, there was a massive snowstorm in the East that forced Raw to be snowed in, the infamous snowed in Raw that was really disappointing because if they had not done that, if that had not happened and WWE canceled Raw, they would have had a mess on their hands from a crowd reaction standpoint. So they were blessed because the Philly crowd that was still hanging around for Raw to give it to WWE for allowing Roman Reigns to win the Rumble would have been destroyed. But that's 11 years ago now. Good God. So Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez walk out, back to Raw, and they spoke as they headed to the ring. And once they got in the ring, Morgan spoke about never losing titles when they were taken away. Lyra and Bayley then come out, and Bayley encouraged the crowd to sing her song. And they did. The Europeans were chanting something all night. I don't know what the hell they were saying. As always, it's frustrating as a English-speaking North American. It's like I don't know what the hell they're saying. So it is what it is. Somebody out there will translate it for me. But Lyra and Bayley come out, and Bayley played up her and Lyra becoming the new champions. And Ripley said they were laying down a challenge, and it was for anyone. And fans began singing Bayley's song, and that's when Asuka and Kairi pull Rhea Ripley and Io Sky to the floor and beat them up. And Asuka and Kairi entered the ring and fought the other teams. And Ripley and Sky returned to the ring and stood tall. So just telling you, hey, we have multiple teams here that are interested in the women's tag team division or the tag team titles. This is still the biggest and most important that the women's tag team titles have ever felt in their existence. And even if that doesn't mean it's still at the forefront of my mind or most fans' minds of what they want to see, and most wouldn't put this in the main event, this is still where you could, this is the best place you could probably imagine or expect WWE to be putting the women's tag team titles, because for so long they were cursed, forgotten, unopposed, you name it, embarrassing. At one point, even you could make an argument that they should just dissolve them until they have a reason to, and a consistency with them. And so they're in a good spot. They're in a good spot. And it's just telling you, hey, there's going to be probably a multi-women tag team match at WrestleMania. That's 3 months away, 3+ months, but you could see that happening much like with the women's U.S. title or Intercontinental title. So, okay. So we then have Jackie Redmond interview AJ Styles in a backstage area and asked what makes things so personal between him and Gunther. And AJ spoke about how it was all about respect when he started in the industry. And he said that he and John Cena haven't always seen eye to eye, but they bonded over the word respect. And Styles said he would make Gunther tap out like a little, I can't say the word. I shouldn't say the word. I've probably said it a few times, but trying to keep this show as clean as possible. You never know who's listening with kids and whatnot. I get it. So Javon Evans comes out, and Cole plugged the WWE podcasts. No, not me. The actual WWE podcasts. And Barrett announced the Kabuki Warriors versus Morgan and Perez versus Valkyria and Bayley in a number 1 contenders match for later in the show. And we had a segment that I'm skipping, which of course has to do with the Judgment Day. If I see the words Judgment Day, I skip it because it doesn't matter to me. I know it's like, oh, it's part of the show. I don't care. I told you I'm bored to tears with the Judgment Day. But we have more to say about Finn later, of course, and we all know what that is. So Javon Evans takes on Bravo, who is at ringside with El Grande, Americano, and Rayo. And we had this match go 6 minutes and 15 seconds with Javon Evans winning after he hits the OG cutter and gets the victory. And after the match, Evans punches Bravo off the apron, and Americano pulls Evans from the ring and tosses him over the broadcast table. And Los Americanos set up a 3-on-1 attack, but Evans uses his speed and acrobatics to avoid them, according to this write-up, which is true. Javon Evans is a freak of nature in the best way. He is just, he embodies what the 2026, 2025, and beyond style of pro wrestling is today, which is insane athleticism, almost a gymnastics presentation. And that's kind of a slight on wrestling today. I don't like how it's evolving. But it is evolving because everything does. And again, evolving doesn't mean progress in a good way. You can have a lot of things evolve that aren't good, but that's the way it's going. And he embodies what that is today. He's a guy that you could look to and say, hey, we're going to give you 30 minutes tonight. Go kill it. And he would. He would, because he's got that type of athleticism inside of him, much like Logan Paul, much like Carmelo Hayes. So yeah, lot of new guys that the crowd's going to have to start to get used to and get to know, but a lot of new talent that are hopefully going to be the future of the WWE and maybe the faces of the company. Yeah, I hope. Okay. So backstage, Adam Pearce told the referee to let the women's teams know that it would be all settled tonight. And after the referee left, Adam Pearce spotted Paul Heyman and asked, where is he? And Pearce assumed that Bron Breakker would show up with bad intentions. And Pearce told Heyman to tell Breakker to go home because he wasn't in the mood. So then we had CM Punk shown walking backstage and footage of Cam Scattaboo, the Giants running back, playing a WWE video game, because that's what you do, is have, football stars just sitting and playing wrestling games, whatever. Again, if you want video games, you're probably going to get a 2K26 announcement at the Royal Rumble. So then we have CM Punk come out, and he told fans he's never going to get tired of being their champion and plans to be champion forever. LOL. He acknowledged that his friend Cody Rhodes just lost his title on Friday, but he feels like he can do anything with the support of fans. Stop. I don't get it. I don't get it. What there are anti-heroes that are some of the most memorable in history that you don't need to pander to fans and tell them how important they are, and I want to be your champion forever, and I'll take on all comers. The anti-hero does exist and has existed. And, oh, by the way, was the biggest star in all of pro wrestling. You know who I'm talking about, right? So, whatever. This is just the formula today that every babyface champion must adhere to. It's the script they must follow. So anyway, Punk said the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber events coming up again. A nice mention here, but few and far between. He said the road to WrestleMania goes through him, and said he beat Bron Breakker last week, and now the Vision faction is in his rear view, and it was time for him to, quote, do champ stuff and wave goodbye, whatever the hell that means. I don't know. I mean, is that like media appearances, signings? Well, I don't know what that means. A way to just kind of introduce Finn Balor, find a way for him to go to the next program, who the next guy is. And that's who it was. It's Finn Balor, which I don't think that was on anyone's bingo card last night, because Finn Balor has been out of the main event scene for years and stuck in the shadow of this amorphous blob known as the Judgment Day that has just mutated into a completely irrelevant and boring organism. That's why I don't mention them. They are, again, individually, no problem. As a collective, snooze fest, it's over. And I hope I eat my words and they do something insane with the group. I'm always for being proved wrong if it's for the betterment of the product, but it's just nice to see Finn Balor in a position where he can thrive, and he's going to here. So he comes out and said he wasn't waiting for the Rumble or Chamber, and he wasn't asking for a handout, and he recalled Punk listing him as one of the people he wants to face. Punk said that that was over 2 months ago, and asked Balor what had taken him so long. He said he sees Balor playing video games, worrying about Dominic Mysterio, trying to help JD McDonough, or shining Liv Morgan's shoes. And CM Punk asked if he would face Finn Balor or Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. And he mentioned Balor's name because he's a fan. And Punk said, of course, again, follow the script here, guys. Follow the incredibly predictable, boring, gushy, I'm a fighting champion, is what he said. And he said he would put his boots on and they would have a match tonight. And Balor said he's been around long enough to know that timing is everything, and said Punk didn't have to worry about Dom or McDonough. And Balor said he watched Punk's career and how he took advantage of having a home field advantage. And Balor said they would be in Belfast, Northern Ireland next week, and there will be a new Irish heavyweight champion. Punk accepted, as expected, and he apologized to the German fans who wanted to see him and apologized to those in Belfast who will have to see their countrymen get put to sleep. And that was it. So, fine promo from both. It'll be very interesting to me to see how CM Punk deals with likely a cascade of boos next week, despite the fact that CM Punk's the babyface here and we have a heel Finn Balor who has no chance of winning the championship. I mean, just absolutely zero chance. None. Not happening. Bet your house on it. Don't actually, but you could and still feel safe about it. They're doing it simply because of geographic location and that it would get the fans excited to see Finn Balor in a prominent position. And it's fine, but it'll be interesting to hear CM Punk get booed for the first time in a while and hear Finn Balor get cheered. So, all right. So good. Good to see Finn Balor in a good position. So we have then Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez take on the Kabuki Warriors versus Bayley and Lyra in a three-way to become the number one contenders for the women's tag team titles. And the match went 12 minutes and 40 seconds. The winners are Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. And how they did it was Liv Morgan making a blind tag. Kyrie tosses Perez to the floor, and then Morgan hits Oblivion and gets the victory. That Oblivion, man, I don't know what that stuff's made of, but nobody's got the kryptonite for it. There might have been one or two times in the last however many years Liv has been using Oblivion to put away her opponents that they've kicked out. Oblivion is one of the most apparently devastating finishes of all time. That's how a finish should be treated. Oblivion is actually a good blueprint for every finish to follow, because that's how often opponents should kick out. Otherwise, it's not a finish. So I like how often people kick out. I think there was like one or two times in the last few years that an opponent has kicked out of Oblivion, but that's how often I feel it should happen. So, all right, so we got Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, who have earned a shot at the women's tag team titles to take on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. So we then have a Becky Lynch promo airing, and she complained about Maxine Dupree getting a rematch when it took Lynch nearly 2 months to regain the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And Becky mentioned defending the title in her homeland, and Cole hyped Becky versus Maxine for the Intercontinental Championship for next week's Raw. By the way, there is, again, Saturday night's main event that's going to take place on January 24th in Montreal. Not to say who cares, because it is a nice little last stop before the Rumble, but you got to look past that to talk about the Rumble. And all Punk did was mention it by name. There was no actual matches set up. It's wild. It's wild. So back to the Becky Lynch promo here. There wasn't much here other than just her hyping the match for next week, which again, much like Finn Balor challenging CM Punk, Maxine, while she doesn't have as little of a chance as Finn Balor does to win the belt, she certainly is, under 5%, I think. 5% or less to win the championship back. Because if they do that, then why even have Becky win? Yeah, Maxine right now, I don't think she's not seemingly in a position where fans are now saying, she's our next Becky Lynch. She's our girl. It doesn't seem that way. She still gets a nice little reaction, but overseas, you also have to be careful of the reactions, because overseas can be a bit deceiving on how babyfaces and heels are treated, and the volume and intensity of those reactions, because overseas is its own animal. And their home base, their home core audience of North America is, I think, really where you take the temperature. But, okay, we then have a trailer for WWE Unreal. You guys know how I feel about that. Cole hyped season 2 being released on January 20th, so a week from today. So if you care about such things and you want to see more of the curtain pulled back, again, the curtain that they only allow you to see, got to remember that, then check out Unreal, if you care about that, which, yeah. So AJ Styles then was backstage hyping the main event. He had another little backstage segment here that did have Maxine and Akira Tozawa and Otis, and she was disappointed about losing, but she proved everyone that she belongs. And she told Otis and Tozawa that she became champion because she finally believed in herself, and she thinks it's time for them to do the same. And Dupree said she would put Lynch in an ankle lock and break it. Okay. So a very much vanilla kind of segment here, I think, with Maxine saying, I believed in myself and I could do it, and I did it. Gosh golly. Okay. Maybe I just want a dark version of wrestling with this whole polished version that sometimes we get, and really all the time we get, that makes it feel so produced, with everybody having cutesy lines and kind of the same structured promos, like I mentioned, with everybody having to say a certain thing, even if it's the words are different, the message is the same about when babyfaces become champion and what heels do to retain championships. There's never been a heel that can just outright beat a babyface. There's no such thing. Okay, so many just fundamental issues I have with wrestling. Makes you wonder how I even just talk about this on a weekly basis. So Michael Cole stood on stage and introduced Raquel Rodriguez. Cole said he goes way back with Raquel and has always felt she would be a world champion. But he asked why she attacked Stephanie Vaquer when she already had an injured ankle. Raquel told Cole and the fans to go ahead and feel bad for Stephanie, but she won't stop until she gets her title match. Cue Stephanie Vaquer's music, and she's not there to cut a promo because she can't. But she then has referees and producers holding her back. Rodriguez was escorted to the back, and Vaquer looked into the camera and spoke about how her injury won't stop her. She returned and attacked Vaquer, who was talking to the camera, and Rodriguez slammed Vaquer's leg with the championship. I mean, in a kind of brutal way. That was neat. But Vaquer, with her incredibly heavy accent, it was still difficult with the few words she was saying to understand. I know that, yeah, she spoke some English, but when she doesn't have a phrase that she's mastered, like Asuka, right? Like for a while, Asuka, all she knew was, seemingly, at least on camera, all she showed was that she would say, "You're not ready for Asuka," right? Like you're like, oh, okay, I got that part of it. Now, what did you say the other 98% of your promo? I mean, Asuka's gotten a little bit better with that. Io Sky, I think, is decent given the accent, but the how thick Stephanie Vaquer's accent is, and if she doesn't have a word that she's really worked on or a phrase that she's worked on, it's very clear, and you have to sift through how heavy her accent is, which again it's I'm not annoyed to the point of like, oh my God, like I'm not offended. I just don't think she's going to reach her full potential connecting with fans, which again, the core base will always be North America. Sorry, Europe. You guys are getting a treat right now, and WWE is expanding globally, and that's great, and I'm happy for you guys. But the core foundational audience will always be the United States. That's just the way it is. They started here. They have a base that's not going away no matter seemingly what they do. I'm part of that. For better or worse, we're here. And their lifeblood is here. Now, again, they're expanding globally, and they're doing what they need to do in Australia and Puerto Rico. I mean, the UK, and of course, Saudi, and everywhere. Germany, France, Scotland, Ireland. I mean, they're going and visiting you guys, which is great, but I just don't think she'll reach her full potential. Circling back, I don't think she'll reach her full potential until she can speak English in a way that's not totally fluent, like she doesn't have an accent, but you gotta, I think, to reach your max, learn how to speak at least a basic level of English that you can sift through her accent to understand. I know that's offensive these days or whatever to say that you need to learn to speak English. No, you do. You do, because the majority of your audience is an English-speaking audience. And I would argue that the majority of the English-speaking audience is not bilingual. They only know Inglés. So that's, whatever. If you want, oh, he only wants to know English. I do. I want them to know English because I'm a consumer that is watching a product that was made here in America, right? And I want to understand what you're saying. But okay, now I've angered some of you UK fans. But hey, you guys, listen, not UK, but just overseas generally, Europe and everywhere. You guys bring the energy. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what it is. It's just that sports culture over there that you guys seemingly are just endless with your energy. I don't know what you're chanting half the time, and a lot of the time it's the same chant no matter what the segment. I don't know what the hell it means, but generally you guys have a much higher base volume going throughout the entire show, which is impressive. It's impressive. So I'm not crapping on the fans over there. You guys have more energy than 75% of the audiences here in the United States. But I want my stars to be able to speak English fluently. That's all. Why wouldn't you? It'd be like a product born out of France, for example, right? And all of a sudden they start expanding a little bit into the United States and here and there. And you're getting frustrated because all of a sudden you have somebody who is in France, who's a star in France now, and all they do is they speak Spanish, or I'm sorry, they speak what's a good maybe they speak German, and maybe you guys over there know each other's languages or whatever. But I would argue that most people are not bilingual. It would be that equivalent. Like I'll go over there and I'll be like, hey, no. Hey guys, I'm going to speak in English here. I'm going to speak in English. I'm not speaking French. And you guys can deal with the subtitles. Put yourself in that scenario. All right. I'm get some emails about that I'm sure. No, I've already gotten some of them about it, and that's cool. All right. But this attack on the ankle of Stephanie, outside of the language barrier issue that I've been harping on, was nice. And it looked brutal. And Raquel has seemingly come very much into her own. She feels relaxed. She feels like she's found her identity. She knows much more who and what she is. What'd she call herself? The big, beautiful, sexy Latina or something. I can't remember, but it made me think of Kevin Nash, like big, sexy, the female version of that. So she came up with some line, and I liked it. And I think that she's finding herself. So where are we? We got a good segment coming here. Backstage, Jay wrapped up a phone call with his brother Jimmy when Otis and Akira greeted them, and Otis and the Usos were calling out an entire tag team division. And Otis asked for him and Tozawa to get a piece, and Jay started talking about other teams, but Otis made a mean face, because that's what he does, and told him that he was serious. Jay acknowledged that Otis was serious and said he would talk with Jimmy. And Jay held up his title belt and warned they would be stepping into the room with the best tag team in the game. Yeah, there's no chance, right? None. But Akira and Otis, even if they do get a tag team title shot, hey, I'm no problem against that. I mean, you got to have a tag team with depth that doesn't always have the same two teams like the Usos and the New Day, say, for example, fighting. You got to have others come into the fold. All right, so then we got Bronson Reed and Austin Theory taking on Penta and Dragon Lee. The match went 9.5 minutes with Penta and Dragon Lee beating Bronson Reed and Austin Theory by DQ because Bron Breakker comes out and spears Lee on the floor to end the match, and then he ducked a clothesline, speared Penta into oblivion, and he went up for another spear, but Adam Pearce stood in his way and recalled warning Paul Heyman earlier in the show. And he bickered with Breakker on the floor, and Reed hit Penta with a tsunami, and then Pearce comes in the ring and got in Reed's face, but not just got in his face. He grabbed his shoulder and turned him around. And then Breakker comes in, and Pearce spun Breakker around, as I said, and Breakker grabbed Pearce by the collar and backed him into the corner, and the other Vision members pulled him off, and Breakker told Pearce to kiss his ass, and Reed in Theory walked backstage. And what was very interesting is Heyman was talking about how, he said to Adam Pearce, you made a mistake. Let's not forget you put your hands on Bron Breakker first. And that's very true, right? This was a great segment. There's a lot happening here, right? You have Penta getting destroyed after returning just a few weeks ago. You have Bronson Reed, again, doing what he does, destroying people with tsunamis. But most importantly, you have Bron Breakker, who, he's billed as a heel here, but he doesn't feel like one anymore. We may have crossed the threshold quietly into babyface Bron Breakker, because what's happened now, people like to get on the ground floor with new stars, and we're not on the ground floor really with Bron Breakker anymore, but we're starting to build the house now. And Bron Breakker is a young guy. He's explosive. He's shown he's good to very good on the mic, especially for how long he's been in the business. He shouldn't be as good as he is, but he is. Is he as good as CM Punk? No, but very few are. But he's certainly serviceable and only going to get better. I shouldn't say serviceable. He's very good. And now he's got Adam Pearce on his ass. And Adam Pearce is going to get speared. We know it's coming. Adam Pearce may even put the boots back on for a mattress. I could see that happening. But Adam Pearce is going to get his ass kicked. And Adam Pearce blowing a gasket every single week, and he doesn't have security to do these things. Also, does he have the temperament to run a international wrestling show? You know what I mean? If this was truly, truly a show we were watching that Adam Pearce was truly running, it wasn't made up and produced. I mean, having Adam Pearce, the temperament he has with how quickly he starts screaming and yelling and turning beet red and blowing a blood vessel in his eye every week, getting physically involved now with talent, he's crossed the threshold. And Adam Pearce is going to regret it. I could see Adam Pearce next week in Ireland getting a spear by Bron Breakker, and the crowd's going to love it. See, that's the thing. Bron Breakker's coming out and just raising hell. And they've made you forget quickly, and that was a thing that they needed to do, about the loss to CM Punk. They moved on. He's not involved with Punk right now, and he shouldn't be. They're just trying to erase, and they took a big step forward of that, of Bron Breakker getting his heat back and getting the focus on something totally different. And that's what they've done with Breakker this past week. The fact he's suspended, of course, doesn't mean anything. Anybody that's suspended will show up almost every week until their suspension is lifted. And in fact, WWE always finds a way to reward those who violate their suspension. What did Drew McIntyre get? He violated his suspension week after week after week, and then makes demands, gets his demands met, and gets a title shot and becomes champion after being suspended. I mean, think about it. It's ridiculous, but it's wrestling, right? So I love this segment. Bron Breakker is a machine, and the crowd is this close, no matter what they're going to do at this point. It may be inevitable. The crowd is ready to explode for Bron Breakker. Maybe they try to double down and get a few more months out of this heel run, but they are swimming up a stream that is going the other way. And eventually they're going to have to just say, let's just go. The more I think about it, though, they may have to force it down the throat of the fans for a few more months because of Seth Rollins' inevitable return. And having Seth Rollins take on Bron Breakker, as I've predicted, seems like a WrestleMania match to me, a big one. maybe though here's the danger. Bron Breakker may be just forced to be a babyface by that time. Depending on what they do, they got to be very careful. There's a chance that when Seth comes back and attacks Bron Breakker, that Seth gets booed and Bron Breakker gets cheered. It's like out with the old, in with the new type of dynamic. They got to be careful. I think so anyway, if they care about that stuff. And they'll tell us they don't. Oh, as long as there's noise. Yeah, that's a bunch of nonsense. Okay. So, a WrestleMania video package aired with Triple H in his office at headquarters, and he took a call and was told that WrestleMania pitches just came in, and the video included clips of Peyton Manning and Pete Davidson and Big Dom. I mean, I don't know. I'm reading a bunch of names that I've never heard in my life. This is on the recap on Pro Wrestling Net. Credit to them here. The theme WrestleMania Vegas everybody wants in was shown, and the graphics also asked people to stop texting and emailing Triple H. Yeah, certainly. We will certainly stop pounding Triple H if they're talking about fans here. I don't think they are, but okay. So Cole said the best thing to do, or the best thing about the job, is they don't have to beg the boss to be at WrestleMania because they'll have a front row seat. So, okay. I mean, here's something funny. And this is not from me. This is from Pro Wrestling Net. And it says, Cole should probably avoid boasting about this, or the money-loving TKO executives will start charging the broadcast team for the ringside seats. It's true. That's true. You know, I could see that where it's like, hey, Cole, listen. I know you've been here a while. But we're really we're strapped for cash. We got to start charging you guys. Look, we'll give you half price. You give us 15 G's, and we'll call it even, per ticket. I mean, that sounds hilarious, but it's not too far from the truth. If TKO executives could do it, they probably would. Oh my God. They are just obsessed with money any way they can at any cost, no matter what it does to the product. Just bring in that cash, baby. I think they've done a lot of irreparable damage to the presentation of WWE since TKO was taken over. I really do. There's a lot you could say about Vince McMahon, but there's a lot of good that people don't want to say about him that they probably do miss about him under his guidance and leadership and presentation of wrestling. People hesitantly would agree with some things about the way he presented it. The TKO does that you're like, what? Hey, all right. So again, next week's Raw, don't forget, starts also on this wonky time if you're in North America at 3:00 Eastern time. Obafemi got a video package as he does every week, and that's when we get the main event here. Gunther versus AJ Styles, 18 minutes. Gunther beats AJ Styles, and Gunther gets he has to hit a low blow and a power bomb to beat AJ Styles. And before that, the match is as expected. Two veterans going at it, physical, nice in-ring psychology, great pacing. It wasn't 100 miles an hour. You could understand what was going on. I love that style. I love it. I love the pacing. And we then do get replay footage showing that Gunther tapped when Styles said he did, and Gunther was tapping the hip of Styles on the other side of the ref. But Barrett said it was the smartest thing he'd ever seen, and back live, Gunther was laughing as he headed to the stage, and Barrett explained that Gunther tapped in the one place the ref couldn't see it, and Gunther was all smiles, and he raised his arms and played to the crowd. He said, "The greatest in this company," and he closed the show. So I don't like Gunther tapping. I know that the ref didn't see it, so it didn't count as a tap out. But this idea that Gunther taps out at all needs to be squashed. You just beat John Cena in his retirement match. You can't be tapping out even again because the fans see it. And in their minds, in the court of public opinion, you tapped. The ref just didn't happen to see it. So on the record will show you didn't tap, but you still did. So I think it still does a little damage to him. I don't want a guy like Gunther to tap. I understand AJ Styles is one of the greatest that pro wrestling's ever seen. I get that. But Gunther is a force to be reckoned with. Gunther is one of a kind. You utilized him in a huge position as the guy that beat John Cena in his final match, made John Cena tap, which hasn't been done in how many years? I said 15, 16 years, maybe more. Whatever the case was. And only like 4 or 5 times in his entire career has he tapped out. So it was a monumental moment. And you had him tap out to Jey Uso on night 1's main event for the world title. You have him tap out here despite the fact the ref didn't see it. Again, it's supposed to build heat. But I don't need the idea that heels need to cheat to win. This needs to be uprooted. I don't need it to be never. I don't need it to be never that heels cheat to win, but Gunther's not a normal heel. Gunther is the exact type of heel that could just outright beat you and gloat about it and still be a really bad guy. Gunther is the opposite of what you want to do with people like this. Meaning heels like this, that they just form fit every heel, no matter the wrestler, into this box of you must cheat to win. You can't ever straight up beat the babyface because if you're a babyface, and it's one-on-one and you don't have any interference or anything weird go on in your match, you can beat the heels simply because you're a babyface. That's the idea that we have all just been accepting, and I'm not accepting this anymore. A heel like Gunther should outright beat the babyfaces and beat them brutally until someone finally steps up and shuts him up. But to have a guy like Gunther need advantages like low blows and referee viewing angles at his benefit, that's not who Gunther should be. I still love the guy. His career's not over because of this. That'd be absurd. I just think that there's a better way to build him. There is a type of heel that can exist that doesn't fit in the box of how you want every heel to be, just like the baby faces and the I'm up for every challenge and all the rest. That's just so stupid, and I've explained why many times. Why just saying you'll fight anybody for this championship and defend it every time that you'll roll out of bed and defend the championship. Like, I've explained why that is just so stupid. But back to some positives. Really good match. The ending, not the greatest way to end the match given how Gunther won, but he still did, and he beat AJ Styles, and it puts, I guess, more heat on Gunther for fans that are just looking for someone to step up and shut him up, which could be Brock Lesnar. Could be. If you want to go that road, you could have Brock Lesnar and Gunther in another Royal Rumble moment if they want to do that. So, a big show next week in Ireland. We have the world title match, probably should be headlining the event, and seeing Finn Balor lose in some way, which could set up maybe Dom versus Finn or something like that. I'd love that. Alrighty, well, that I think will do it for this Monday Night Raw review. It was a fun time. I had a good time, even though it's really late and I need to get up early. So hopefully by the time you listen to this, you are having a good Wednesday. I'll be back on Friday with your mailbag. Don't forget about that. Send in your emails, mailbag@wwepodcast.com, if you want your emails read and answered and your thoughts here on the show. That'll do it, everybody. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to wwepodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.